I love Disney. Their movies were my childhood, and I'm sure that a lot of you out there are in exactly the same boat as I am. And I also loved my PS2. Again, I'm sure lots of other people are in the same boat as I am. However, I didn't give a flying fuck about Square, Final Fantasy, or turn-based RPGs overall. Wasn't my cup of tea at all. So that wasn't what sold me onto Kingdom Hearts on the PS2. It was Disney and hack and slash action.
And luckily, I ended up really liking it, and that feeling continued for me all those years ago, but very quickly changed after I finished 2. The story honestly was the biggest reason for me dropping off. It was just fucking insanity that distracted me far too much from enjoying the awesome gameplay, and it made me not care at all about Kingdom Hearts 3 when it was rumoured. But after seeing that there were PS4 remasters of most of the main games and cutscenes in chronological order, I thought I'd give the series another shot, and holy shit, I'm glad I did. I'm not gonna hide anything from you when I say that this is one of the greatest remaster collections I've ever owned. Please keep in mind that today I'll only be reviewing Kingdom Hearts 1 as a game in itself. I'll get to the other ones one by one as we go down the list, but for my brief thoughts on the collection itself, for £25 you get pretty much every important or relevant separate game or remastered cutscene set in chronological order to get you ready for the upcoming Kingdom Hearts 3. I know it's not everything, but it's pretty much most of it. Not only are they beautiful at 60 FPS and 1080p, but also filled in gaps with the plot that I never even knew existed, which had given me a new drive to head back into the series and give it another shot. And even for me just playing through 1 and Chain of Memories alone at this point, I can say it's worth it tenfold at that price just for them, let alone all the rest of the stuff I haven't even touched yet. Even if the other stuff is shit, it doesn't matter. It's worth it for just these 2 games. However, in Kingdom Hearts 1's Agrabah, swimming uphill against a water current looks fucking ridiculous no matter how much you remaster.
If you were curious on the Kingdom Hearts saga but wasn't sure where to start,
to be honest, I don't blame you.
then I would recommend you pick this PS4 setup. It's amazing value for what you get. I'm not going to be doing a marathon or anything, but I'm actually planning on going through all of the games and the cutscene sets in this collection on the Caddy show, as it were. And I'm going to give my overall thoughts on the entire collection at the very end of when I'm done talking about all of them, because honestly there are so many games and things to talk about, and it's too much for one Caddy episode. I've got other things to do, so I'm just going to sporadically talk about each game and cutscene set as I get to it. So for now, let's just talk about Kingdom Hearts 1 and how I felt it's held up since I first played it in 2002.
One thing that hasn't changed for me after all this time though is the fucking introduction. We get an extremely atmospheric and cool stained glass Disney princess tutorial segment promptly ruined by Destiny Islands, where we do get introduced to our main characters and their relationships in a calm and peaceful setting, but Christ almighty, it goes on for over an hour and all you do is run around an empty beach setting with not much going on, doing nothing but fetch quests for random items and then hit each other with sticks all day if you really want to, while witnessing some of the most awkward and pathetic teenage banter I've ever seen. However, once the darkness comes to take Destiny Islands away after a warning from a strange figure in a cloak, you get to fight this thing that spawns what the game calls heartless, beings without souls. Then the game and its plot really get going, and it manages to peak and dip at all the right moments. You end up in Traverse Town, where people who lost their worlds with nowhere else to go end up, so cool, and then through the power of Sora, your main character being the chosen one for reasons you later discover, you need to go around all the different worlds that are now accessible to each other because of the Heartless messing everything up, close the locks to these worlds to save them from the Heartless with the awesomely cool Keyblade, and find your best friends Riku and Kairi from Destiny Islands who were separated from you. This is all going on at the same time as Donald and Goofy from Disney Castle needing to find King Mickey after he heard about this impending Heartless invasion and needed to head off to try stopping it. And this obviously means that they need to cross paths with Sora and the Keyblade to assist in locking away the darkness and finding their king as well as Sora's friends. The story as I revisited I actually found really enjoyable. Of course, this was before any of the future games and their overly complicated setups as well. So it's a simple premise that's easy to follow, and the whole multiple worlds from specific Disney movies being scattered and traversable offers tons of nostalgia, visual variety, level design opportunities, musical backing, heartless enemy designs, creative bosses, and original voice actors reprising their roles for a genuinely effort-filled and authentic Disney experience. It's also neat to see Final Fantasy characters and such spliced into the mix, and you even get to fight a few of them. But when did Cloud turn into fucking Justin Timberlake?
How about a rematch sometime? Fair and square, no dark powers involved.
I think I'll pass.
As far as original characters and villains are concerned, I loved how you discover more about them through Jiminy Cricket's journal and how King Mickey fits in with everything since you never see him until the end. And Sora I enjoyed controlling around as you tried to get him to save his friends. The ending especially I found genuinely quite saddening when him and Kairi get split up after they restore the worlds to their own universes and Sora heads off to find Riku, who sacrificed himself to see all the darkness away. Yeah, neglected Riku a little bit, haven't I? Well, the thing is you actually meet with him ages before Kairi, but instead of you teaming up together to find King Mickey and Kairi together, Instead, he sides with the evil Maleficent, working with the Heartless because she constantly keeps telling him Sora likes his new Disney friends more than you and he doesn't like you anymore and blah 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 blah. I'd say this pubescent teenage drama bullshit was awful writing, and it is, but I won't lie when I say how entertaining it is. It's fucking hilarious to see that peer pressure is what ended up with Riku being possessed by the big bad guy working everything behind the scenes, and the conversations him and Sora have throughout the game crack me the fuck up from how pathetic they can be.
Good to see you again.
Well, where are Donald and Goofy?
Are they that important to you? More important than old friends?
The recreations of classic Disney movie stories that vaguely splice into the bigger main plot I honestly found a little off on occasion and unnecessary. However, that's a nitpick compared to how well the models and locations are nailed for PS2 standards, except for the fucking fairy godmother. What did they do to your eyes? And the fact that you get to meddle in and out of all these different worlds with different challenges helping out each individual predicament. It feels like you're doing something to help fix a broken galaxy because of the Heartless, so the story I still really do enjoy. Even though I don't quite understand why Jafar didn't just use the genie to wish for Maleficent to win and unlock the door to Kingdom Hearts and unleash all of the concealed darkness of the world with the power of the Disney princesses immediately. But I guess there'd be no game if that happened, right? Also, don't take a drink whenever someone says heart, light, or darkness because you will die.
The story and presentation is also helped out by an incredible soundtrack with tons of renditions of Disney tunes, Final Fantasy tunes, original compositions, and they're all perfect at setting the mood for quirky exploration or badass fights. The main theme of the game especially gets a thumbs up from me, simple and clean. I mean, I do prefer the ending credits version of the theme than the beginning, and the lyrics I kind of found fucking trash, but damn is it really catchy and completely nonsensical and just goes all out with it. I can't tell you what it's got to do with Kingdom Hearts, lyrically or anything, it's just fucking nonsense, I love it. The theme to Traverse Town and Monstro I also really liked as well. Basically the whole soundtrack is great, go and listen to it.
And luckily the actual gameplay is just as good. The main issue right off the bat for me going back to the original Kingdom Hearts is that I remember vividly how well Kingdom Hearts 2 played, so I automatically had much swifter, snappier, crazier and smoother control styles of future titles to compare this game to. This is much slower and more defense heavy and stiffer compared to the slick and quick onslaught of 2. Imagine playing Bayonetta and then heading off to play an old arcade beat 'em up. It's not the same thing at all, I know, but in terms of a control sensation, it's a similar kind of feeling. The game still plays really well though, and if you've never played 2, you probably won't have a clue what I'm talking about. It's still good to play, but trust me, it's noticeable going back to it now. It has aged slightly if you've played 2. But don't get me wrong, it is still great fun to play. The main gist of the game is that you use your Keyblade for all of your combat needs along with magic attacks that could be mapped to a few shortcuts on the controller. You scroll through the rest of your magic and items with a D-pad while surveying and paying attention to things around you, and in an extremely simple design decision, use everything in your side menus with the X button. This makes most encounters, especially bosses, a great match of not only learning patterns and techniques for actually fighting, but also the best moments to safely navigate to magic and use your items, along with looking after and managing your partners. Goofy and Donald, Defender and Magician respectively, all have their own attacks, magic meters and health bars, so pre-battle arranging of who would best need what items and then going into their behavioural menus and tinkering with how they should approach every battle with magic use, special attacks use, defense, aggression, or when they should heal each other or yourself, and magic meter if you need it, I found extremely therapeutic, and once the battles actually happen, your adjustments do make big differences. In each world you can choose to use a respective fighting companion with their own unique attack styles and items. However, for the sake of staying safe, I opted to just use Donald and Goofy with me. Not only for the exploration, as you need 3 main characters to activate these little marks here for special items, but also with the combat experiences and leveling them all up. I do like as well how the game doesn't rely on unavoidable random encounters and instead lets you control how much fighting you actually do with the spawning Heartless, so the pace and the challenge of the game is basically down to you. However, I personally chose to fight every encounter I activated to level up because of the awesome shit that happens when you do level up. You don't just get more hit points, magic points, strength and defense for your leveling over all 3 characters, but also additional equipable moves and what the game calls AP, which are the points that you need to equip said moves. The moves you get are awesome and help out your combat in a multitude of ways. Having square being a dodge roll is useful as hell, along with it being a deflector when you stand still, which then gives you more experience points whenever you successfully cancel or guard an attack out instead of the clunkier way you had to hit an enemy's attack in advance before that ability is acquired. You can equip treasure magnets, automatic magic regaining, additional hits to your basic 3-swing combo, mix and match attacks with air combos and powerful finishers, use a large amount of magic points for special one-off attacks when the right conditions are met, with this one being my absolute favourite, and the combat is already fast-paced and frantic enough as it is, with getting your satisfyingly crunchy Keyblade smacks in while not getting too greedy and managing health and magic properly against the correct foes. But with the AP abilities, the game goes into overdrive sometimes. And since you have limited AP points that you slowly increase for all 3 of the party, switching and experimenting with the most useful ones can create totally different styles of play. In the early game, you get to fight Cloud in the first Hercules tournament, and if you've never played Kingdom Hearts before, I'm not gonna lie, he's not an easy fight for this early on in the game. But if you can outwit him, you get one of the coolest rewards ever. You get his very same Sonic Dashy thing he uses in that battle, and it became one of my best friends even until the late game, especially considering that you can't spam the triangle command to use it multiple times and need to properly concentrate and time it or else lose the chance to carry it on until the finisher. One of my favourite aspects of the game though was finishing off each Disney world and getting a stylized brand new Keyblade to fight with depending on the world. The Pumpkinhead from Nightmare Before Christmas was my personal favourite from design, and they not only increase in strength the later the stages into the game, but also have additional costs and benefits to being used, which is exactly the same for the Goofy and Donald shields and staffs that are actually unlocked through side quests, purchasing and exploration a lot more than just playing the game in a straight line. Boss battles aren't just really fun and unique to the Disney world, but are also unique in how you actually fight them, all providing different attack styles, defensive strategies, ultra powerful special attacks that have specific ways of avoiding, stage maneuvering to outsmart, and even some requiring a bit of puzzle solving to open weaknesses. And the originally designed bosses are, well, fucking incredible and totally monstrous. I loved the ghastly, nightmarish mess of nastiness that is the flying boat-like final multiple phase encounter especially. Locking on, unfortunately, is a little iffy though. Sora has a tendency to soft lock onto most enemies unless you choose to hard lock, which is fine, but over any kind of ledge or cliff he will never stop looking at his target until it is dead, and he will veer himself off of anything towards the enemy no matter where you are, which can cause grueling time issues clambering back up to where you were again. And admittedly, a lot of this is fixed by using magic, however the late game has enemies above lower levels of a stage who are barely scratched by even your powerful spells, so I ended up just ignoring them to save myself the hassle. Not to mention actually picking the singular enemy you want to focus on can be a bitch. The camera control is fine, but where your soft lock attaches ready for a hard lock seems to be random, and that can cause a few issues when you face to attack one particular foe but end up flipping around in mid-air to go for somebody else, especially a pain when you waste a special move on an enemy that didn't need it. I think it would have been cool as well to flip between targets while on lock-on, and I can't remember if they fixed this in the later games, but yeah, it would have been nice here. It's cool though to unlock the summon attacks for the other Disney characters. Simba's Roar and Dumbo's Water Blasting I found incredibly useful against groups, and others I barely used, sorry, and the animations were way too long as well. Can't I just please use the fucking attack?
The game isn't just a fast-paced action RPG though, it does have full 3D movement and jumping, so you know what that means? There's exploration and even platforming elements in the exploration, which I find fantastic because not only does every level look different, but now they all have different methods and ways of travelling through them, along with additional challenges for finding hidden items and hidden weapons.
And the platforming, despite it being a little stiff with much more height than distance to Sora's jump, actually works surprisingly well even today and adds a new dimension and satisfying level of things to do when you aren't fighting. There are tons of treasures that are very well hidden, ranging from simple health and magic potions and elixirs to other weapons and even really rare crafting materials to synthesize new items with in Traverse Town with these cute little fuckers. You can even discover accessories in these chests for Sora, Donald and Goofy to equip at your leisure, increasing defense, magic, attack, AP points and even elemental resistance, so it's definitely worth jumping, hanging and looking around as much as possible for any treasures that you can. You can even find torn pages to the Book of Winnie the Pooh and get little minigame sets to complete in order to lock up the book and save the gang from the Heartless ripping out the pages forever, which is adorable and awesome at the same time. Honestly, not all of the stages and their designs are perfect though, and a few I remembered from my first playthrough years ago and wasn't looking forward to revisiting. The Little Mermaid world, for instance, is cool in its idea of full swimming everywhere, but the trade-off for swimming up and down is that special moves and even AP abilities are removed, like dodging and blocking. That's fucking annoying. Neverland isn't awful or anything, but it is a very inaccurate title because you never actually go to Neverland and instead just hang around Captain Hook's pirate ship with cramped spaces and a fucking awkward camera. But that in itself is made up for with an awesome boss fight and parts where you can fly freely and fight in the sky along with fight on the deck of the ship at the same time. And one of the most peaceful endings to a stage I've played in ages, where you just fly around Big Ben in London with great music and a lovely airy free feeling. Tarzan's Deep Jungle though, oh boy. For an early level, I can imagine this world would have made most people give up near the start of the game, and that would have sucked. It's easily my least favourite level despite the lovely visuals and very cool ending boss against Clayton on top of a giant heartless chameleon, but the rest is just as tedious as anything, and I hate that they put it in the beginning of the game when you're at your weakest and don't have any cool special things to mess around with yet. The world and its quests are nothing but a constant linear back and forth between the very top of the jungle and the very bottom, over and over again, with no quick way to reach either the top or bottom. Tree sliding is the same thing every single time and is boring as hell. Swinging on vines to climb up to different areas is totally luck based and has no skill, since you just wait for the right right command to appear on your action menu, press the command and hope that Sora grabs onto the next vine, and if you fall down, you start from the very bottom of the vines again and need to go back up for another chance. Did anyone else like the gummy ship parts though? I mean, it's not the mechanically deepest method of getting from world to world, it's basically baby's first Star Fox, but the way that you can fully customize your ship and only make sure it has an engine and weapon to actually fly is badass as fuck. By the end of the game, I had collected every single Dalmatian puppy in the treasure chest from another side quest, and one of the rewards you get for doing that was one of every gummy block in the game, meaning that I made the biggest, most armored and ugliest piece of shit ship you've ever seen in your life, equipped with all the best flight, speed, shield and weapon blocks, and that made every gummy ship stage a joy from how fast I could fly and how much I could plow through the flight stages like an unstoppable wrecking machine. I also called it the Peony. Yes, it's the Peony. Be afraid of the Peony. Not to mention on your first playthrough in particular, the entire minigame is worth it just for the anticipation of seeing the next world appear on the horizon and wondering what it could be and which Disney world you explore next. If you don't like these parts though, you can always warp to previously discovered areas from the halfway point of the game, so it ain't all that bad really.
So in conclusion, how did I feel about my introductory revisiting to the Kingdom Hearts universe? It's bloody great. The main thing that I have against this game is the fact that I unfortunately do know how much swifter and nicer and less stiff the controls and the mechanics and all the other new items and weapons and all the new abilities. I know how much better it gets later on, so going back to this game, it feels extremely restrictive, and of course, it's the first of its series and there's a lot of design issues with the worlds and everything just as it is. It definitely does feel like the first of the series, basically. And that doesn't make it bad at all. I still think you should start here, but just keep in mind, especially if you play Kingdom Hearts 2, it's gonna feel a lot clunkier, but you've got to put yourself back in time and remember when this game first came out, because there wasn't anything else like it, was there? So you've got to keep that in mind when you go back to revisit it. But overall, it gives you a great introduction to the concept of Kingdom Hearts, the characters, the mechanics, it eases you in, it simplifies everything, and the challenge level is pretty great as it wraps up towards the end too. So as a video game, it's pretty damn great, and I still recommend that you check it out, and I'm going to give Kingdom Hearts an 8 out of 10. If it's your birthday today or watching this video, happy friggin' birthday to you, and please remember to stay beautiful.